Joining me is Larry Woodcock, the grandfather of JJ Vallow. We are talking about the Chad Daybell trial as it gets underway. April 1st, 2024. Larry, thanks for being here. What's it going to be like to get back into that courtroom and relive everything?
Well, first of all, thank you, Justin, for y'all's support. Thank you for our friendship. And, it's hard to express in some ways. Mentally, it's very hard. And the idea that we're going to have to relive all of this is it's hard, and it wears you out mentally, and it wears you out physically, because first of all, on the mental side, there's I don't know what new the prosecution is going to provide new evidence about, but having gone through Lori's trial and heard the massive amount of information that was provided at that trial, I really can't imagine that it's going to be any worse, but we still have to relive it. And there are times when it's extremely emotional. That's the hard part. And, but we're going to be there. We've never once thought or conceived that we weren't going to be there. We're so fortunate that we have so much support from our friends and our family, and also our worldwide family, that so many people have followed this, and we just we certainly appreciate everybody, but it's not going to be easy. But on the other hand, we have heard most of it.
And I think it's the fact that you have to hear it again because there's a brand new jury that needs to see and hear all this evidence. The focus now is on the co-defendant of Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. So I'm curious to know if going through it last year, obviously you know what to expect, but there'll probably be some new witnesses here and there, even on the side of the defense. What are you interested to know about Chad's alleged involvement here?
I look forward to hearing, actually, I do. I look forward to hearing Chad's defense. I think Chad's defense is indefensible. I think the evidence is absolute. Honestly, my concern right now is the evidence that was presented at Lori's trial, and that I viewed and they viewed. In talking with the jurors, as we have, and some we've got to know, I pray, and I mean this, I pray almost every night for those jurors, and pray that this doesn't affect them, because there's some tough stuff to see. And I hope that they're prepared for this. I hope that if they need help, they ask for it. And I look forward to letting the jury do their business. I will always abide by the jury's decision. I think the jury in Lori's case made a true, honest, righteous decision. And I pray the same for this juror, that this jury is able to view that evidence, hear the evidence, and make a righteous, true decision.
And for context, for those who are not avid followers of the case, but the evidence is going to be coming from Chad Daybell's property, in which June 9th, 2020, you remember the date clearly, JJ, your grandson, was found, Tylee Ryan, his big sister, was found, and this was after several months of searching, where you asked, where are the kids? Where are the kids? This is the same property where Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell, was found dead in October 2019. So there are three victims here. He's accused of murdering and conspiring with Lori to murder, and then also the insurance fraud with his then wife. I mean, really, this all started with an affair and ended tragically. And being that Lori was found guilty, did you ever think at some point over this past year that Chad would just plead guilty?
I don't think Chad will. In fact, if Chad pleads guilty, I would really be surprised. Um, I, I, I don't understand Chad. I don't know if anybody does. I'll tell you right now, I pray for Chad's family. They're going through horrific times, and I wish him, his children, nothing but the best. And I hope that they can get through this and make a grown-up decision about what happened in this. It's going to be, as I said, it's going to be hard again, but I think we're all better prepared for this. And I'm sorry, and I've got off just the moment in your original question. Can you repeat that, please?
Oh yeah, no worries. I mean, you answered that you would be surprised if he pled guilty. I mean, now he's had all this time, he's going into trial. That's not happening. But I was just curious to know if you thought, hey, the evidence showed, or the jury found that Lori was guilty. Why would Chad not be guilty if the evidence was on his property? He was with Lori, getting married, dancing on the beach in Hawaii, and refusing to help the authorities find these children. Not wanting an autopsy for his wife of 30 years and instead getting her a funeral right away. This is the type of stories, these are the stories that the jury, the court, will hear. And so it just feels like both co-defendants would be culpable, but he's innocent until proven guilty. That's just the way things are. The difference is he faces the death penalty if he's convicted. Do you feel that he still deserves that if he's convicted? And you just said you feel terrible for his family and his kids, but would you still want the death penalty on the table like it is right now?
I still want the death penalty on the table, absolutely. But that's not a decision for me to make. It's going to be the hardest decision that 12-person jury has to make. And there again, I honestly believe they'll make an honest, fair, righteous decision. And if the death penalty is what it is, then so be it. Just remember, the accusation is he killed his wife. He murdered his wife. And I can tell you without a doubt, after reviewing those photographs, there is no doubt there were two people involved in it. One of them's dead. And once the jurors see the 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 photographs of JJ and Tylee and hear the evidence, then if they seek the death penalty, I am 100% for it. But there's other things in life worse than dying. Having to sit in prison without the possibility of parole, pardon, and having to worry about some person in prison who hates child molesters, child killers, to me is worse than death. And I would hate to know that everything I do for the rest of my life, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year in, decade in, after decade, that you can never trust anybody, to me is worse than being shot in a firing squad or being whatever means that Idaho now has for the death penalty. So in my case, if I was in Chad's place, I think I would absolutely plead guilty and say, okay, put the hat over me or put the bullseye on my chest and let's get this over with.
And that's not the case for Lori Vallow, who's in Arizona right now in the Maricopa County Jail. What do you think life is like for her right now? Do you ever wonder what she's thinking?
You know, we hear absolutely nothing from Maricopa County about Lori's situation. And I suppose until we go to Maricopa County for Charles's trial, that we probably won't know anything. But the good news is that we don't hear anything. The bad news is we know where Lori's at. And the worst news is it's not a day camp.
So, do you think that when she comes into court and she looks very happy and she's smiling, that that's all still part of her facade, and that in reality she would rather be in Idaho State Prison?
Absolutely. Lori is going to always be Lori. You got to remember, Kay and I loved Lori. And I mean, and Charles, that was Kay's closest relative. And for what happened to him, Lori hasn't changed. You know, she was there. I still say that she put one of the two bullets in Charles. I'll always believe that. And I know Tylee knew and what happened because she walked over him. She was in that room. So in Lori and Chad's mind, they didn't have a choice. Tylee had to go. Charles had to go. Alex had to go. And I don't know why that they had to take JJ's life. I'll never figure that out. But they did. And so whatever penalty they get, if it's a firing squad for Chad, so be it. If it's life in prison without the possibility of ever being released, then so be it. And I hope that one of these days we will be able to never forget this, but maybe not have to worry about it as much as we have, and the stress that it has put on our lives, the unbelievable stress that it has put on Kay and our family. So the decision on whether they live or he lives or dies is up to those 12 jurors.
And you brought up the name Alex. That's Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's late brother. And his, I guess his prints or digital footprint is all over this case. His phone records, his email, that's going to be brought up like it was in the last trial. He was pinged on Chad Daybell's property in the time frame of when the kids were murdered. And so you expect to hear a lot of this. Alex and Chad Daybell, how were they linked together through this time frame, and what may have gone on that property, if that's going to be unveiled? I'm sure that's something that's on your mind, is how close were Alex and Chad here?
Absolutely. Totally agree with that statement. Justin, I think when the prosecution presents all the evidence, they're well schooled on it now. They have got this down pat. And I think the evidence is so overwhelming that there's no other logical explanation for all this. You can chop up lettuce and tomatoes and make a salad, but if the defense gets on there, basically all they're doing is chopping up and trying to serve you a salad that may taste better, but it's just not going to work. When you've got 12, 13 terabytes of evidence, and we've all sat in court and we've all heard it, any reasonable juror, I feel, is going to be affected by what he hears. And I do. I really hope that if this affects any of the jurors, that they seek help, ask for help, because they're fixing to see and hear a lot. And I pray for them.
Yeah, these jurors' lives are about to change. They're about to change. That's it. Whoever is chosen, that's just the facts. And we got to see that last year. Last thing, would you like to see Chad testify?
I hope he does, but I just can't imagine Chad testifying. He's Chad. I don't think Chad is going to do anything other than sit there in a white shirt and a red tie and just be Chad. I would love to hear a defense, but I truly hope that, yeah, I do. I hope he does testify. And I hope at one point in this, if he is found guilty, that I get the opportunity to look him in the eyes and confront him. And I think that's going to be my greatest pleasure,